creeps through my window pane. Dreams of stars, now a faint refrain. Coffee brews and thoughts collide in this early morning ride. Wake up world, let's start the day. Insight flows in a bright array. Questions dance like morning dew. In this space, it's me and you. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup was a whisper. Conversations open doors, spilling thoughts forevermore. Ideas bubble crisp and bright. Words take flight in morning light. Consult the heart, make it sing. New perspectives on each wing.
Hey guys, good morning. Wait, is it really Saturday? Is it? I need to know because I feel like this week was kind of just a little bit busy, extra chaotic. I don't know. How are you guys feeling? Let me know in the comments, right? Hopefully, StreamYard and I were having some issues. So hopefully I didn't lose you guys being a little late this morning because it was making me sign back into my account. Like dual factor, the whole thing, because of course safety first. But sorry if I was late. It was a technical issue and I thought I would glide in right on time, but I didn't. So thank you for waiting. You guys, it is going to be a big one today. It is kind of everything I believe in a show. Documentation, then action. So I want to encourage you to bring your friends in. If they are entrepreneurs, if they are looking for work, if they have humans who live with them, if they are a human themselves, it really helps with all facets of life to get some clarity, write it down, and then act on it. And so we'll dive into that today. But I definitely just apologize for being late. I feel like I've just been slightly behind all week, and that's not normal for Melissa, but we've been having some really fun stuff going on around here. And so good, bad, ugly, it all comes back together to be okay. We're here. We're doing it. So is your pen ready? Is your coffee ready? What are we doing? Right? Let's get started. I want to introduce myself to those of you who don't know me. I am Melissa Ann Houston, cultivator of dreams, motivator of human capital. And what that truly means is I want to help people like you figure out who they want to be when they grow up. Because that goal, that dream we have, it shifts as we grow, right? If you dream of being the supervisor and then you get the supervisory role, your dream's not done. Now you're probably wanting to be the next level supervisor, or maybe you want to start your own business one day, or maybe you have and you want to be able to hire a team. All of this is going to help you find success in those actions. It's also very helpful to write down your grocery shopping list before you go to the store. And so if you don't think this applies to you, you're wrong. It applies to any human because, truth be told, our brains are only as effective as they want to be at any given time. And a lot of things can affect our brain power, from distractions to ADHD for some of us. They say diet can affect how you behave, and, protein versus no protein. I know I get hangry if I don't have lunch on time. And so, it really comes down to tracking the things that matter to keep you functioning, to make sure that if you forget, if something slips, that the alarm or the journal or the notepad is going to remind you where you are. So, good morning, guys. I am so excited. Let me say hi to David Pushkin. He says, hey, hi from London, UK. Good evening, Melissa from LinkedIn User. Not sure who that is, but hello. I'm guessing you're on the other side of the globe. Annette, motivated Monday early. Saturday's a great day to redefine what matters. You're in your weekend. You probably have a little bit more personal time, even if you have to work. At some point, the mindset has been structured that you're going to relax on the weekend. And in that relaxation, you don't have to be still. You can get some documentation done to do later, right? Writing your to-do list doesn't mean you're actually cleaning out the garage or doing the laundry. It just means it's going to happen. So think about it that way. If you're overwhelmed, if you're feeling too much, if it just feels like, I don't know that I want to do this, I've had a week, that's okay. Do it anyway. Just listen. You can come back, take notes later. But it really comes down to, if you track it, you can fix it. If you don't track it, it's going to get away from you. And having a process helps you build a good foundation, right? Like, we genuinely want to, if we're going to grow a business, be able to hand it over and go on vacation. We genuinely want to be able to say, hey, I need assistance. Can you help me with this? And just slide something over to them very quickly without having to have a 5-point meeting and a presentation and let me teach you how to do it. And at the end, it actually is less effective than if you would have just done it yourself, right? So let's get into this. You guys, if you have ideas, opinions, you want to talk about documentation, how it works for you, your favorite processes, your favorite tools, I'm all in on this. I'm also going to open up the stage for my friends later. We're going to bring some of that conversation piece to the show today. But first, I want to get into why it matters to me, right? So if you don't know, go check out that website, documentandact.com. Learn who I am, what I do, and why I do it. Okay. You can also go check out my LinkedIn profile and maybe follow me there. If you're not following me on YouTube, that's silly. Why? It's a fun place to be. So go check it out. I'm sure my friend Aaron will be dropping it in the comments. He's pretty good about it. Also, that video, that opening song, it was his fault. He helped me with that. It was a beautiful gift, and it's one of my favorite songs. And I say it every week because I still appreciate it. So let's get into it. Guys, what does documentation mean for you? That's the first question I have, because genuinely, if you don't know what it means, it will never matter. If you can't define it, where's the meat on the bone kind of thing, right? If we can't touch it, feel it, sense it, it doesn't exist in my world. Now, documentation has been talked about on the show before, obviously, for obvious reasons. It's part of my brand. But it started with watching a waitress, my mother, work in her environment, taking notes, do her job, writing things down so she didn't forget. As I progressed in my career in staffing and recruiting, it was really important to document conversations, right? Sales, all of these things really build the brand. And so if you're working to do sales, every time you try to call somebody, you would document that, right? Attempted to call Felipe Cofino. And then left a message, wanted to invite him. Quick blurb about why I called, because I might forget why I called him if he waits a week to call me back, right? Or I can say, hey, spoke to Felipe. He said very interested in setting up his coaching booth at our event. Make sure to follow up with him on this date. And then I might have additional documentation or a tickle or a bell or a calendar invite that follows, right? More documentation along the process. And if you've worked in an office, guys, you're documenting all the time. Even if you don't mindfully say, I am documenting this call, that email, that meeting note, the presentation, your planner, your sticky notes, whatever it is, it's all going to build out, right? So why do you track? What does it mean? All of that stuff. Let's get into it. First things first, to document. What does the word mean? Right? Some people actually don't understand it. I gave a few examples because I didn't want to lose you in the education process. Some of us don't like school on a Saturday morning, but it is the act of recording information or evidence, a collection of written or printed materials. It's official records. It's a formal process in businesses or organizations. Now, that's the official definition given to me by AI this morning when I asked it. It went out to Wikipedia and it went out and found all these things, but I went with the standard breakdown, American Edition, Webster. Okay. So that's what that is. But what is it for you? I asked you guys, and I got David Pushkin saying it is defining a process. I gave you some examples of what documentation is for me. What is it for you guys, right? Other ideas I had, things beyond what the school tells us or the dictionary tells us, are these things. So it could be as simple as a text message. You might be tracking information in your CRM. That is a customer retention management system, by the way, guys. So it would be beneficial for somebody in business, a coach, for example. I got a lot of you in the crowd, right? I might happen to be one too. But if every time I talk to a customer, I put in a little blurb into a system that says, hey, spoke to Annette. She's in the audience. I'm going to pick on her. Spoke to Annette. We talked about brand building. We talked about how we can use these tools to help build her brand today. We have a meeting on Monday. Tickler, calendar. Maybe I invite her also, right? That multiple levels of documentation. Now, will I remember all of these things? Absolutely. We have a standing meeting, right? We hang out on Mondays. That's what we do. I do that with all my customers, and everybody gets their special space in my day, and it's repetitive and it's easy. The work is not. The goals, if you work with multifaceted professionals or hang out with them like I do on LinkedIn, you have lots of bubbles in your Venn diagram that you might be pulling from. So if we're taking good notes, and it could be journals, guys, if it's not in something you're paying for, a system that's created there, you can just pull out a planner. You can get one of those 80-page spiral notebooks that go on sale for like 10, 15 cents at the beginning of the school year and make that your documentation system. You can get an applicant tracking system if you're a recruiter. Every time I would call and offer a job to somebody, I documented it. Here's the thing. There's a few reasons why this matters, and we're going to talk about real world experiences today. If you're in HR, like some of my pals in the audience, if you've ever been a recruiter or had any kind of documentation trail for employment, for corrective actions, for unemployment, work comp, all of these things come back to what's written down matters. Everything else doesn't, truthfully. So when you get into it, you're writing down, try to call so-and-so, talk to them about this thing. This is what was discussed. And if it doesn't exist in the system, it didn't happen. And truthfully, if you're like Melissa, because listen, I'm a busy girl. I have a few friends on the internet. I don't know if you know. I also work in an environment in my day job that brings human after human after human to my face. So I will remember tidbits of everything. I will be able to start tapping into it as we discuss. But if I'm by myself sitting, reflecting on the conversation, and I forget that thing we said we were going to do on Monday, who am I going to call except my client? And who would want to call their client and say, I forgot what you told me was important to you? Can you tell me again? So think through this. Have you used one in your life? What was your favorite of the CRM or applicant tracking systems to date? I will say I like Nutshell. It is based out of Michigan. It was a smaller startup when I started in the background screening industry. And I genuinely loved the functionality. You could link data, emails, text. There were some integrations there. There's a ton of others out there today. HubSpot's another big one everybody's into. In the background screening industry, I was constantly focused on servicing people in an applicant tracking system setup. Lots of background screens are integrated with your applicant tracking system. So that way the application, the results of the background check, any of your documentation is in one place in case you need it, right? And so not only have I worked in it, but I have helped create them from scratch in the startup environment. I have helped others learn how to use them in training and teaching the people below my level of business or clientele new to our systems, right? Teaching them how to use it. And so even that had steps, guys. I had like a step to-do list of what I should walk them through. So even though the system I use every day, I've taught over and over, I've built from the ground up, I don't forget to tell them about the facet that may matter most to them. Are you guys awake? I see Aaron's paging like crazy and I'm so excited about it. But tell me about your documentation processes. I know, Felipe, you've talked about your notes and I can't wait to dive into that with you if you get up here today. I don't know where you guys are, but message me on LinkedIn if you're going to join. I will send you the link. We will do that in about 10, 15 minutes if you want to join. Just want to get through some of these points. So if you have the books, we wrote some books, some of my friends, I wanted to mention it. We have documented our stories. We have ensured that the information we wanted to capture in this moment, in this lifetime, in this moment, in this lifetime, right? That I did with friends. And so here's another facet of it. I'm going to go back to my other image in a minute, but books. Have you written a book? Have you read somebody else's documentation and did it have a profound ripple in your life? Because they did document, then act. So we have books, email, photo. Guys, videos. Have you been to TikTok lately? Have you seen the shorts and lives on YouTube? Where do you get your content these days? Where do you get your documentation of what's happening around you? Your news, right? Where do they get their documentation? All of these things are good to know, not just how you do it, but where it comes from, why it comes from, who helped put it together. Because truthfully, you should be giving them credit if they did. It also can inspire you. When I look at Mr. Rogers, I want a cardigan closet, just like full, right up the door. When I think about his ripple in my life, I can write a whole story about it. And maybe we should, guys. And I'll be honest with you right now. I'm seeing a lot talking about news, and I didn't mean to go here, but here we go. And keep in mind, my views are my own. No matter who I'm representing, they're not represented by my views, right? So I just want to say this is just my perspective. But as a kid who grew up without cable, as a kid who grew up without two-parent household, as a kid who grew up with some limited resources on preschool and all of the things, right? PBS was one of my best friends growing up. I was a latchkey kid of the 80s. It kind of babysat us after school. We turned it on and we did our homework to Arthur and whatever else. My sister was 5 years younger, so it was more her show, but I was boppity bopping with Barney too. I'm not going to lie to you. I was doing my dishes and hey, I was doing it. When I think about Bob Ross, he has brought hours, days, weeks, maybe, not to exaggerate, of entertainment to my children in the form of family time, where we would sit with our art and paint and acrylics, not the stuff he uses, right? Because he's really good. But we would do our own version of Bob Ross, and we would just hang out watching PBS, doing that. Antiques Roadshow made me understand value is not always quickly seen, understood, right? there's a lot going on there that wasn't any of the things that the world seems to oppose currently. Not sure why, but I'm a big fan of perspectives. Everybody gets a bubble in my world. Everybody gets a circle to bring to the Venn diagram. We don't have to overlap 100%. As a matter of fact, it would be a blob, right? We've talked about what happens when you blurb all those colors together. If I was to mix it all, it turns into this really mucky, ugly thing. It feels more hospitalized than colorful, and it doesn't feel good, right? It feels like we're all the same. And I don't like that. Sameness is okay. Being different but together is fantastic, right? I would love to be like my friends, but if we all show up in the same dress, it becomes a TikTok hilarious skit for husbands everywhere to be fearful of, right? Like, have you seen the ones where the wives dress the husbands up all the same? All right, let's get back to it. All I'm saying is that documentation they did, the action, the work, the background, had a ripple in my life. All of those shows were documentation of a process, a knowledge, a function, a passion, an idea, a concept, a business plan in action, right? And that had a ripple. It's just a fact. I don't know if you've ever considered your ripple, but I feel like this PBS one, it's going to hurt, I think. This thing that just happened this week, it's going to have its ripple. But here's the other side. We can write down this moment. We can document how we got here. We can assess where we are. We can see where the shortfalls will come financially because funding has ceased to exist for that place, right? In the traditional, always known sort of way kind of thing. And I'm not going to get into politics, but I'm just explaining that in business, you can be thriving, you can be Elmo, right? And then you can get hacked. You can be Elmo and you can get defunded. You can be Elmo and you could have like criminal sign in front of him. I hope you're playing in this visual, but a sign full of numbers, him in a little jumpsuit. We can pretend and we could have that visual, but what's the ripple of that in a decade? Who do they turn to for knowledge next? All of this stuff you assess. I'm not going to do it with you, but these are things I'm contemplating as somebody who likes to understand the ripple and the documentation and why it matters. And knowing that if a shortfall is coming and we see something on the horizon, if we see shifts and we know something's up, we can document what we know and we can plan for that. If we know that we're going to be laid off in 90 days, right? Let's say you get that doom letter and for some reason they give you a lot of runway. That's wonderful. They do if they can. It's a grace period for sure. But if you know that's coming, you can tighten up your budget by documenting how you're spending, assessing it, reviewing it, monitoring it. If you know a job is going to be lost, you can start working on the resume. You can start moving into actions that document that you are looking for work and actively open. Something that I found and wanted to quote here, I'm going to pull it up. If you can't measure it, you can't improve it. And it's Lord Kelvin. And I was like, well, who is this? And then, they added this additional name here. And I'm not really even sure how they're affiliated or why it's one versus the other. But when I asked who he was, because I don't like to quote people that I don't know, it seems a little silly. I could quote some really bad humans by accident. It gave that his information as he helped formulate the laws of thermodynamics, introduced as absolute temperate scale, which we call Kelvin today, Lord Kelvin, right? So his name was William, but they gave him that a title. He contributed to laying the first successful transatlantic telegraph cable. He was knighted and titled by Queen Victoria as the Baron Kelvin of Largs and became the first British scientist elevated to the House of Lords for science. He's a lifelong teacher and advocate for science and public life. And he basically was he was a scientific pioneer. And he really used his documentation mindset to do everywhere from startups to leadership trainings. His legacy is mostly seen as intellectual and technical, not moral or political. Right. And so I wanted to make sure I asked ChatGPT. I was like, am I in danger using this? Is he a good guy? What's the good and the bad? And they told me. And truth be told, guys, everything I talked about, that documentation, the books, the science, the history, the things they taught us in the classroom is documentation they gathered in one space to teach us. There was another Chinese proverb that said something to the effect of the faintest of ink is stronger than, or is better than the strongest of minds. What are you documenting? What is documented for you and you don't look at? How many of you have bills that are automatically emailed to you and you never look at? They're set up on auto pay, you never review. You don't actually know what you paid for your insurance bill last month. You don't know what your utility bill was. You don't know what your phone bill was. How often do you let those auto pay subscriptions go and you don't review what you're signed up for? I know a lot of us are always a little bit worried about the economy, right? Even the richest of the rich seem to need tax breaks. and so if everybody's worried about their bottom line, are we watching? How do we spend? Why do we spend? What are we spending on? How could we stop spending on the thing? One of my favorite things right now in my brain is waffles. There is this beautiful company out here called Sweet as Waffles. It has this whole concept of just like taking a waffle and putting anything on it you want, like a sundae. And it's just a super elevated experience. I keep dreaming of it. Do I want to go spend the money? I really don't. I'm trying to save up, watch what I'm doing, assess, be like finish the year strong and try to get some, traction going for that going into the holidays. You don't start your diet on Thanksgiving morning. You don't slow down your spending on Thanksgiving, like Black Friday, right? So I'm taking through all of it. And that waffle, it's an expensive waffle. It's not very expensive, but it's like a $10 to $15 waffle. There's tons of fresh fruit on it and all the things you can add. So totally worth it. I'm not going to down talk it. It's a common fee to pay for a meal made outside of your home. But I know if I come home to make it, I can get 10 times the waffles for the same amount. That's just understanding my ROI. It's tracking what matters. It's making sure I'm assessing where my money's going, where my energy's going, guys. Do you know what money is? It's an exchange of energy. It's proof you exchanged your energy or time or both for a fee. And if you're exchanging energy for those things and you might feel like you're out of energy a lot, or maybe you feel like you're out of time a lot, or maybe you feel like you're out of money a lot. If you have those three things Venn diagrammed in your life right now, it's probably really ugly in the center. And I'm not judging. We've all been in the ugly center at some point in our life because life happens, right? Cars have issues, things come up, medical bills have wiped out the strongest of savings. So I don't want you to beat yourself up if it's messy in the middle, but I want you to get it less messy, organize the thoughts, figure out why it's so messy. First thing I would do, and I'll be honest, as a kid, I didn't keep the cleanest of rooms, especially when I shared my sister. She was 5 years younger. We had two different lives, trying to share a teenager's room with a kid who still plays with toys and, keeps them on the floor. It's chaos. We've talked about it. So the very first thing I would do when I was cleaning a room is to sort the content. I would come in and I would just pull out the trash and take anything empty, any empty containers, anything I don't need, old homework, old paperwork, whatever. The next thing I would remove dishes and clear off the table if there was like a cup on the nightstand or whatever, right? And I would just segment one thing at a time. And by the time I got done taking a few things off the top, getting the laundry to the laundry room, it wasn't very hard to manage. But if I just looked at it from a big, broad view, it's huge. As soon as you start to bullet point those ugly things, they become manageable. It's one step at a time. It's one bite in the meal. You've heard me say small bites finish big meals. Thanksgiving is not done in one swallow, right? You have to spend the whole day working on that turkey to get it to a point where it'll fit in the fridge with all the others. And some of us Americans really put in the work to make sure we put in that table time, right, to get it done. It's the same thing with cleaning it up. It takes hours and sometimes days to prep for that meal. It takes all day to get through the meal with your family. It takes another day to clean it up, and then it takes a week to get it all out of the house officially. You might still find corn under the stove, depending on who was in the kitchen and how sloppy they were. And so if you think about how long it takes to prep for the moment and then to do the moment and then to recover from the moment, I don't expect you to clean it up overnight, and you shouldn't expect you to clean it up overnight. But can you get the trash out first? Yes. Can you then make the laundry go to its corner? Can you put this to-do list in its corner right next to your desk so when you sit at the computer next, you have the computer to-do list in the computer space? Yes. Your income. Guys, we can make documentation very, very simple. If you've ever worked in Microsoft Office or used Excel, you can use a spreadsheet to track your information. It could be as simple as lights, $100, phone, $300. I don't know what your bills are, right? So random numbers, I don't care. But then they have an auto sum button. And then you could do the same thing with your income and auto sum your income. And then you could see where the variables are. And if you have extra left over, you can determine how much of that might be fun, how much of it might go to additional bills to pay them off earlier. You might determine, oh, I'm short, and oops, what are we doing? And you have to cut some things to make sure you're not doing it. This should be done often. I know businesses look at quarterly financials, but I know business owners look at that paycheck and that bank account more often. Are you listening? Are you awake? Let me know. How often do you check your bank account? How often do you check your spending? Not just the balance, but the wash, the ins, the outs, and itemize it and look at it and really discover how you spend. That's part of the documentation, right? So we've talked text. Oh, we haven't talked text. Text. Guys, a text message is documentation. It's literally, I'm going to be 5 minutes late to the meeting. You're letting your boss know. It's very clear. It can also be used in court, right? All of these things can be used in court. They can quote from them. They can use resource journals and books to look at history and law. They can take evidence in photo and video and text and email. It's also for work comp and unemployment. Did they disclose their pre-existing condition to us before they went and lifted 100 pounds, even though we told them do you have a condition we need to be concerned about? These are things that come back, right? But also birthdays. I am so grateful for Felipe reminding me that LinkedIn does that. It reminds you sometimes, hey, so-and-so's birthday's today. So-and-so has a promotion. We had talked about the features of LinkedIn. And it helps to remember for the network. It also was a thing that I would give my grandma for her birthday or Christmas. I would give her a calendar full of everybody's birthdays in the family because she would forget. It's not that she didn't want to know, but when you have 8 kids and 1 million grandchildren and you have all of your friends, all the days are the same in her brain. That's what she used to tell me. And so that documentation of just a calendar. I love that. Let's see. Okay. Oh, Nick. Hi. How's YouTube? How's the weather over there? Is it cool? You know, I'm really trying to grow my brand over there. I'm enjoying the fact that it streams to all 3. It's kind of a set it and forget it kind of thing, but I don't want to forget it. I really don't. Last time I checked, I was at 28 subscribers. We're moving, we're grooving. So it's nice when my friends go over there too, but it's hard to miss out on the conversation, I think. I really wish that somehow they would let all streams blend. I wish they would do it to where on my StreamYard, I could see where it was coming from. Okay, paging. Aaron freaking loves waffles. Whole point is, why don't I just make the waffles at home, right? We could do this. We could have a waffle party, guys. And in the morning, I'll make waffles. Okay, anyway. My husband checks every other day. And I saw on LinkedIn when I looked that Annette says she checks weekly. Aaron's doing bi-weekly checks. Guys, I check my money daily. I gotta tell you, I look at it daily because I want to know what's coming in. I have multiple streams of income. I have multiple expenses going out for different purposes. Some are business, some are personal, some are investments, some are just bills, right? Auto pay for the car payment kind of thing. And so I'm always watching the wash. I just want to be aware. I want to make sure they didn't forget to take it. There have been times where I've set it on auto pay and then I'm just cruising along. I'm doing a good job. I'm rocking life for years, no problems. And all of a sudden, I'm getting emails. Your payment failed. What? My eyeballs got big as my face. What? Oh, sorry. Your debit card expired. You kept it too long. Can you type in your new debit card that they mailed you? And I forgot. Oh, that's true. None of that's going to work if they don't have a valid new card because the other one expired. That is not intentional. It's not lack of money, but it's still a hiccup in the documentation and the exchange process. And it could create a ripple within my brand. If my storage of all of my business stuff that I'm using on, say, Microsoft Office disappears, I'm in trouble. I have backups, but do you know how much time it would take for me to even get it back to the place where it is today based on? And so thinking about that, how often do you check, right? Build it in. How often do you write things down? How often do you sit down and whether it's your phone, your computer, your tablet, sticky note, pad, I don't care. Sit down and genuinely just make a list or get clear. It's not something that's often done, which for me is confusing because we need to, right? There's so many pieces of life. There's so many ways to play. Social media documentation. How many inbox messages do you have right now that you need to respond to? I got to be honest, that's the worst part of my documentation process right now, mostly because I don't get to opt into that documentation by choice, right? Somebody will say, hey, Melissa, I saw your profile. I will go into another person's event and I will say, hey, everybody, because that's what I like to say, right? I'm PBS Kids style waving. Hey, everybody. And all of a sudden I have 10 people who want to connect with me and are in my DMs. Some of them have relevant overlap to me. Some of them just want to pitch slap me. So that documentation can build up without my permission because I don't always have the motivation, fun, or passion to go dive into those conversations. That's also a way to look at documentation. How many pieces of unopened mail sit on your desk? How many unopened emails are in your inbox, text messages? These are also symptoms, signs, warning. Because if your documentation starts to stack like mine has in my inbox, there's a backlog, there's a ripple, there's a hiccup. I could be missing future clients. I could be missing opportunities to speak. I could be missing a lot. And to be honest, I'm pretty diligent, but I'm not perfect. So I don't want to assume that I've read it all so thoroughly that I would be okay. I assume a lot based on the first couple lines, like most of us, right? We pre-read the text and either we open it or we don't. Be honest with me, who screens text? But I'm pretty good at assessing, like, is this a pitch slap? Is this a genuine connection? And so I might be misunderstanding some of those, and I might be missing something that is genuine but looks different. Look at the way you handle your documentation. Are you always flipping through your notes? Are you always searching for that sticky note? How do you combine it into one place to keep it nice? I have a few methods and I wanted to share like just quick, fast, ugly ways to go. I'm multiple incomes, right? That means I'm not always at home in front of one computer. I work off site and then I come home and I'm coaching. And sometimes when I'm coaching, I'm on the move. I don't like to sit still. That said, if I have a call come in, having that Excel spreadsheet, having something where I could just type in something, Microsoft Office, a place to go into a Word document, maybe an ongoing Word document for the client that just keeps the notes there. It doesn't have to be high value, high tech, right? It just has to be written down. It could be that 80-page spiral notebook you get in for school, as long as it's there. But then how do you keep it clean? How do you organize it? If you have the spiral notebook, maybe you take a highlighter and put a special color. If it's a personal page, highlight it blue. If it's a work page, highlight it green. That's where the money is, right? As soon as you're flipping through your journal, you'll be able to quickly assess, okay, I need this personal note from this moment. Where am I going to find it? And then at least if it's color coded on the type of note you took, you have a 50-50 chance of finding it, or it's easier to find, like half the time, right? If you add more colors, stats change. It can be the tabs. They sell little tabs. Do you guys remember? You just put it on the edge. It's a little sticker and it becomes a flag and it helps you separate. You could do that too. I personally love the Happy Planner company. That's where I started in my journal experience. I went into one of the hobby stores. I don't know if it was Michael's or Hobby Lobby. I think it was Michael's. I think they have a more robust selection, actually, of the company. And I went in and I fell in love because what they do is they have a ring system. Okay. Think just clear little plastic circles. And the pages sit inside of that. But what's cool about these rings is they are set up so you can add and remove pages at your discretion. It's not a spiral notebook. It's not one of those 3 ring binders where you have to get a hole punch and you have to do it. There is a special hole punch for it, but it is set up to swap pages around. And so if you have 1 or 2 of their planners, you can quickly have like a dump planner. And if you're Melissa Houston, you would take a standard planner you just carry everywhere. And then at the end of the day, you take a page from this client who called and put it in their planner. You take notes from a lunch and learn that you hosted or attended, and you put it in the perspective planner. I loved that because I was always on the go. I always had so many facets, always different businesses, always different industries. And I'm not one who niches down a lot. I like humans. That's my niche, right? Bubbles and humans, data and circles, and documentation and action. And so if I need a niche, that's it. But that really opens up the need for like 10 planners sometimes. And if you go back through my images and just scroll until you find it, you will see pictures of planners where I have one for each client. So for me, one planner that I could carry everywhere, bring it home, separate it. And then now that I'm actually on the go more and not at home as often as I used to be, I like to do it in digital form and then come home and sit, listen to music, and copy the notes over to the journal. And that not only helps me keep the documentation in one place, but it reinforces what I'm supposed to do. It helps with memory. Write it, speak it, read it. It's one of the things that I've learned to absorb data most effectively. And so to absorb the documentation is to really process it in your own way. Other thing, guys, have you ever, right? This is a have you ever moment. Have you ever been told by an employer or a boss, if you didn't write it down, it didn't happen? If you didn't write it down, it didn't happen. Because truth be told, I have. It happens in a courtroom. It happens when you're talking employment. It happens when you're talking compliance. It happens when you forget the milk because you didn't write it down. But what if all of these actions taken, let's just talk about your week, the week you had. What if it all was erased automatically at midnight every night unless you wrote down what you did? Like, let's get into a Black Mirror Netflix episode for a second, right? Can you come with me? Imagine that every night, whatever you didn't write down just disappears. Does that seem silly to think like that? Because I'm going to be honest with you. How do you know it doesn't happen like that? How do you know you forgot or didn't? I kept thinking about this really hard. Like, we forget things all the time, but we forget we forgot. Right? And so there's no way to even hold ourselves accountable if we don't write it down because we'll forget to. There are so many things where I'm like halfway through the day and I go, oh crap, I was going to bring, a different water today. I was going to bring my lunch from the freezer and I forgot. There was no note on the door to say, grab your lunch, you're leaving, grab your lunch. There was no alarm saying, did you get these things? I actually have a client of mine I talk to sometimes on the way to work. And it was a running joke of, here is the list of things I'm going to tell you to remember. I do the same thing for Lauren when we were talking. As she's leaving the house, I'm like, do you have a this? Do you have a that? Because halfway through the call, while we're not documenting, while we're trying to multitask, while we're trying to be cool and do all these things at once, things get forgotten, like a charger or a phone, or for the phone or the laptop or your earbuds or whatever. So if we remember sometimes, what if we don't remember all the time? And how long does it take to get back to that thought? It's going to be something that triggers around you, or it's going to be that, oh my gosh, they deducted that. I meant to cancel that subscription. I meant to stop that free trial. Oh no, I forgot. That can be an expensive forgot. And so let's talk about it. If every night your memory erases, and I want you to pretend this is going to happen to you, what are you going to do to prevent the important stuff from disappearing? What if you made a mindful decision every night to write down who matters in your life? Also, what if you did it in a text form and hit send once you were done? And it doesn't have to be everyone all the time, but honestly, what if they forget how you feel because it's not written? So I'm gonna take it a second and just think about loss, family history, people who have come and gone in our lives for whatever reason. And we always want more pictures. We always wish we had something with their voice. We've seen like the teddy bears, and how moved people are. They wish they had more pictures, right? If this image of what I opened with is my boss said, if it wasn't documented, it never happened. That is a really sad thought in a life where we're not taking pictures, where we're not writing down our experiences, where we forget what we've accomplished. Let's go back for people who are just joining us. Welcome, guys. The act of recording information or evidence is documentation. Evidence we existed. Evidence we cared for each other. Evidence you were a thought in my mind today. A collection of written or printed materials. It could be your journals. It could be your diaries. One of the best-selling diaries of all times was written by a little girl in an attic telling her story about living through World War II. All that was her documentation of her life, and we haven't forgotten her. Many may not have read the story yet, but those who have, it's not something you let go of. At least not Melissa. I don't want to speak for you. Official records. I did background checks, right? So court records, documentation, the U.S. Constitution, all of these things are official records of something, of service, of an idea, a concept, a belief, a foundation. Your about section, your company page and what you stand for and what you tell people. And then a formal process, how to do it. It could be the back of the cake recipe on the box, right? Just that's documentation. That's a formal process of how to make a cake or whatever it is. Think about what your documentation is. If you disappeared tomorrow, could your business run without you? Remember that we're running under the premise, and it's not a fun premise. The premise that every night, the actions you didn't write down disappear. Because truthfully, and here comes some hard facts, and I'm just going to put it out there. Dementia is a thing. Alzheimer's is a thing. Memory loss, short-term, long-term, it happens from injury. It can happen from trauma. It can happen for a lot of reasons. I'm not a doctor. You can Google, ask AI why all of these things can happen. But it was a stark reminder for my family this week because my husband's mother has been diagnosed with dementia. And so in thinking about what that means, the ripple of that moment and the documentation of what's now in her medical records, and knowing that I believe this quote of if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. If you can't write it down and act on it, then that's a problem for me. But also, we're going to write our story either way, right? We've talked about leaving our mark. We've talked about what that means and the ripple, and we've talked about journals and diaries and letters and books and all of the things that I believe in and that I have done to leave my mark. But now I'm contemplating her mark and how much can we gather for the generations below her to not lose sight of who she was? How much of her will they be able to grab and repeat and return to? It's hard for me because the answer is automatically going to be not enough, in my opinion, for anybody who's reflecting on this. And so if you're feeling not enough is the answer for your family or your situation right now that you might be just naturally overlapping in your brain, I want you to know you're not alone. Matter of fact, Jeremiah, my fiance who passed away a long time ago, in his diary, in his planner, one of the things that was written is that there is, and I'm going to misquote him slightly, I'm sure, but there is not enough time in this life or 1,000 lives to show how much one truly loves another. And if I don't know anything else about Jeremiah, if you don't know anything else about Jeremiah, that was something he felt so profoundly, he wrote it down. And if I ever had to doubt, or if I ever felt doubt of love from that human, it gets erased every time I imagine him writing that, because I was next to him in the room when he pulled out his planner that night. We went to the Christian bookstore together and bought this leather-bound diary for him to track his experiences, his journal, his thoughts, his Bible study moments, all of these things. It was for him. Genuinely, though, once he was gone, it was for me. And it was a reminder of, even if I felt like I wasn't sure if I ever had a creeping doubt of, was the love enough, which of course it was, we were getting married, right? He didn't feel like he had the right words or enough time to ever explain it to somebody. And truthfully, that's beautiful that I have that reminder. I hope my kids have the same. I hope that message carries through me from him to them, right? Because his ripple is that I want that feeling for my family and the people behind me. I want to leave my legacy. Nick, my publisher, she's down there. My friends are in this book with us, right? There's a couple of them out there. And if you go check them out, you can learn more. It's definitely worth it, because these are people leaving that ripple for their families, for their kids, for the people who they care about, for those who don't even know them, but might benefit from that reflection time, because maybe, just maybe, their family didn't have time to journal. They didn't know the power of documentation. Nobody told them their story was worth sharing. Ooh, I could get really emotional on this, guys. There are so many humans out there who don't feel worth seeing. There are so many people out there who don't feel like their voice matters in a room. And that's just not true. Because it may not matter to the people sitting right next to you today, but I promise you, it's that on and on it seems to go, and you don't know what you got till it's gone, right? We definitely need to make sure we leave the mark, because at some point there is going to be a ripple. I really believe God puts us here for a reason. I believe if it's put on you to do, there's a purpose or a reason behind it. I could stop and say hi to a little boy on the street just because I have that gut feeling saying, say hi to that little boy. And that act of kindness is going to create a ripple in his life. Maybe he's the next president because some stranger was kind to him and he just wants more kindness. And he just kept chasing it to the point where he was willing to fight for it. I don't know, but I read stories like that often. Right? I read motivational stories of how dad or mom or grandma or the neighbor or somebody, their first boss, set a tone in their life. They had a ripple, and that moment being shared may have an additional ripple. So, truth be told, even just sharing what impact that others had on you could be sufficient. The fact that you were pondering their ripple and contemplating it and being thoughtful and just really trying to dive into who others are and what their purpose is and how that could impact you and have impact in others through you. Kind of cool to think about. I don't know if you're with me. Guys, are you awake? Are you wearing? Do you want to join the stage? Come message me on LinkedIn. You have to be on LinkedIn to join. I'm not going to the other platforms to search you down to see if you want to come, because I don't have to. I'm the boss. But if you're on LinkedIn, you want to join the stage, talk about documentation, talk about what comes up, talk about sharing your story. Nick, I'm calling you out too. You're doing another legacy book this year. You've done many books. What does that mean? What is documentation for you? Drop it in the comments or join the stage. Let's talk about it. But guys, why do you document? What is it you do write down, if anything? because everybody's got to take notes at some point. There's a whole app for that. So I'm guessing there's a need, a want, a necessity to track data. And so who's having you do it? Why are you doing it? Who are you doing it with? You don't have to tell me how if you don't want to, but is it your spouse? Are you guys tracking together? Are you like me who just did a steps goal with the company that I work for? We got a team together. It's a nationwide thing. Really kind of cool. There's an app called Pacer we're using. Really kind of cool. And it just lets you travel. And recently in this app, my team and I were able to go and virtually walk with the team that we work with. It's a summer steps battle. It's really kind of cool. And we actually just got to go, where were we walking? I don't even know. They give us checkpoints and stuff. And it was Puerto Rico. We walked up and down Puerto Rico. That was how many steps my team took, was the length of that. And so we started at Flamenco Beach and we worked down Tamarindo and Ensenada, and we just kept going until we got to El Moro. And they have pictures and they have these things. And that's something I did with my team above the documented job description. That's what we did to be healthier together. We are working on hydrating as a team. We ask each other, did you have water? What are you having for lunch today? Are you eating good foods? Did you have protein? We're documenting what goes in together to try to have better outcomes together. These are examples for me, right? What are examples for you? So it's been a lot. We're at the top of the hour. My phone just vibrated a bit. And so I want to say hi again. Listen, I'm Melissa Houston, cultivator of dreams, motivator of human capital. And we do this once a week. I do take time off from here from time to time, like everybody should, to rest and do the things. But I'm back. And today we're talking about the power of process, how great leaders track, share, and scale, right? And so who do you share your data with is another question I have. Do you reflect on it alone? Do you have another perspective add value to it? It's important, right? I would love your perspective. Go to documentthatAct.com. Check out my website. Tell me what you think. Tell me in the comments. I want to know what you think of the website. Does it align with what we're talking about? Does it seem to be a little bit of Melissa? Is it all the things coffee chat? I would love to know what you think. Also, just wanted to share, if you guys need help, leadership development, does your team need some reorganization? Do you need to get some restructuring going? Do you want to change your business? Is it time for an overhaul? Is it time to fix the broken? Do you just want one-on-one coaching? Do you need motivation? Do you need somebody to say, hey, you got this, let's do it, I'm with you? All of that can happen, right? Also, go buy the books. Did I tell you I'm in books? They're on Amazon. Nick, she's in the comments on YouTube and on LinkedIn. And you know what? You can go find her too. She's got all of the links all the time on her page, and you should follow her because she's got really cool books coming all the time. Not that that isn't enough, but hey, you guys might recognize this lady right here, this one right next to me. That's Jackie Hallberg. I don't know if you've heard of her. She is my partner at The Emotional Women, in The Emotional Women. I wanted to say partner in crime, but this is the furthest thing from what we do, since I did background checks and she works in criminal justice, reentry, and fun stuff. But we have come together to talk about the you in the emotional response, right? To try to navigate what that looks like, to try to help your team express their emotions, communicate more effectively, get it together, but do it knowing that emotions are just a symptom of something bigger, and they're not necessarily bad. The way we process them can be improved for sure, and that's part of what we're going to talk about. But it's not bad to be emotional, guys. Being excited for your new job is an emotion. Okay, it's loud, and we are excited to be excited with others, but all of them are allowed. We're hardwired to feel them all. That's why they exist, right? And so we'll talk about that. We're going to Arizona. Did you hear? Jackie and I are like 2 weeks away. It's so exciting. I don't even know what to do with it. Maybe 3 weeks away. Jackie, I don't even know how many days. But I will be in the hottest part of Arizona at the hottest part of the whole year with my friend Jackie, sitting in the pool, planning, plotting, working on the stuff. But while we're there, we are going to be offering some communication stuff. We did a whole show on communication. You can go check it out on our page. But we have a communication webinar seminar thing. We would love to come talk to your team, your students, right? Any of your book clubs, guys. We're both in the books that I showed you. We have a lot of opportunities to speak and engage your audience. And so reach out to us if you want to see us while we're in town. Okay, now coming back to it. Part of where I'm at is the reach back, pull forward concept. When it comes time to promote from within, to hand over some of the things you need to be doing, maybe you hire an assistant, maybe you have somebody who's doing some on-the-job experience for their college class, maybe you mentor, maybe you give back in the form of a coffee chat like I do, maybe you do the show like many of my friends do on the internet. There's lots of ways that you can reach back and pull forward, but the fastest way to do it, and I kind of love this company right now that just came to mind for documentation, it's Scribe. Do you guys know who Scribe is? Maybe tag them, let them know we're thinking about them in the documentation process. But if I think about a team, what I want to leave them with is the who, what, where, when, whys, and hows, right? We covered that often here. What are we doing? Why are we doing it? How are we doing it? Who does it help? Where does the data go? Why does it happen this way? All of the things that can come up, right? And then Scribe is one of those things, and you can create screenshots and presentations on your own, but it will let you just click, and this is not paid, guys, but it will let you click record. You can do the functions. If you want to send an email and show them how to send a thank you for shopping with us email, you can create the email live and you can hit stop when you're done, and it will show every click, every button, everything you did to get it done, and have a how-to written down on top of it. It'll say, make sure you go click on the red button or whatever, right? And so it's super functional, super easy, and it's a quick app that just goes, oh, I got to teach them how to do it. I can do it. So I only bring it up because documentation doesn't have to be hard, but it has to happen to be able to pull people forward, to be able to have people pull you forward in your goals and dreams. They need to have cue cards. They need to know what you really need. And if it's not written down, it's not explained yet. It's just not, because if they forget one vital step, you can ask somebody to make you a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And if they forget the knife, if, we've seen these TikToks, maybe you guys have, I know I have, where parents are telling their children, write down how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and then they follow it exactly. And these kids are like, oh gosh, and they're grabbing their head because their dad's hand went right into the jar or something. And they're just using their hand to spread it because they didn't say take a knife. So when you think about it, who are you asking for what? How do they know that they're really executing what you said unless it's written down? And so contracts come into mind when I'm thinking business. If I'm doing work, whether it's even temporary, like 1099 work, if you're doing staffing or contractor work, you still need to have a defined outline, a job description. How much am I going to make? What am I getting paid? Right? What are the expectations? What are the deadlines? How much grace do we have? What happens if you don't do your job, but I'm expected to do my job and I only get paid when my job's done, but you stall me? All of these things have been conversations with clients and then some. But if you write down, hey, this is how we're going to work. These are your timelines. If you don't abide by the timelines that we have set here, this is what happens. These are the ways that I can get out of this contract if you're not listening to what we've written down. These are the ways you can get rid of me if you don't like what we've written down. These are the ways that we're going to define success. These are the ways that we would define failure. And I don't want you to, if you're scared of this, if this is intimidating, get help. ChatGPT would be a great first one, or any of those AI ones. Be like, hey, I need to write a job description. Hey, I need to define an outline for a contractor. I'm hiring them to do this. Hey, I need to define a workflow process for how to create an email in Microsoft Office. Maybe you don't have Scribe, right? But these are tools you can do that would help. Once you have that, if I give somebody a manuscript, a handout, an outline of how to do it, and I know that you could do it and not miss a beat as long as you're reading, right? As long as the vocabulary is functional for the 5 and 75-year-old in the room, as long as the terminology used is not so industry specific, like CRM and ATS, if you've never worked in the industry and you read that, it can mean a lot of things. And if you Google CRM and what it stands for, you're going to get some ideas, but there's lots of ideas. The same with CSP behind a name. I was a certified staffing professional. That's what mine meant. That doesn't mean that's everybody's definition, right? And so thinking through that, also, how do you track your data? When do you track your data? Do you have that outlined? Is it in your calendar? Go do your budget. Go sit. Do you have an alarm? Go make a post. Do you have an alarm? Go, for a walk. These are things that matters. These are your processes. And I don't even care what the processes are or why. It doesn't matter to me. It's you have to define it. But what matters to you, you track. And if you don't track it, you can't improve it. And if you don't track it, you can't show people where it went wrong. The other thing I have to tell you is I had to learn the hard way, super hard way, in my first entrepreneurial, I hate that word, in my first own business. When I was in entrepreneurship for the first time, I was a cab driver, discount cab in Arizona. They are lime green, super bright, hard to miss. This was before Uber and all of those other companies were really actually even in existence, I don't think, to be honest. I'm that old. And it's fine. I digress. But I would drive, and I was my own boss, and I would keep my receipts for my expenses, but I didn't really write them down. I didn't keep track of the income. I was just working until I made enough. And then I realized, taxes. The car accident. A car accident that happened while I was driving at work. And we went to the court, and the lady at fault was supposed to pay me for my time, but I had no proof of how valuable my time was yet, because I didn't write it down. And honestly, I just stopped pursuing the lawsuit because I knew my documentation wasn't great. Could I have proceeded? Probably. But honestly, I felt deflated as soon as I heard it, because I realized I didn't have the data I needed to protect myself. Now, could I figure it out? Yeah. Could I try? Sure. But it didn't feel honest, and I didn't want to try to back, because one day I'd make 300 and the next day I'd make 20. I couldn't even guess it, because I didn't track the data. I just paid the bills. I just got it done. And in business, that's what matters, until that's not what matters anymore. You got it done, but now you have to talk to the IRS. You got it done, but now you had this twist where you were in an accident and you had to prove you got it done and what that meant for you. Hard lesson learned. That's why when I say it didn't happen if you didn't write it down, none of this counts. If there's no documentation that the meeting, the call, the notes from those thoughts you had over coffee as you were waking up and just overheard a conversation and it sparked something in your brain, if you didn't write it down at the cafe, it's gone. Because what happens is you're going to go to the grocery store and the same thing's going to happen, because you're nosy as all get out, apparently. You like to listen to other people and then use it for your own ideas. But because your brain's constantly absorbing, and I say that with respect and it's a joke, but because you are constantly absorbing, you're only going to be able to hold so much without anchoring that data in. It's why when you were in school, you didn't remember everything you were taught. And you read it and you wrote it and you took tests on the data, guys. And yet there's still data you don't remember. You can't tell me off the top the presidents in order, likely, right? You can't tell me off the top what every facet of the Constitution means, although it probably was printed somewhere in your classroom at some point in your school or in a book. Doesn't mean you're bad for that. But if you're not touching it, reading it, breathing it, writing it, you're not going to maintain the data in your brain, because your brain doesn't use its full capacity at all at once. It just doesn't. I mean, I prove that often on coffee chats, 6 a.m. on a Saturday. But the truth is, if you write it down, when you are more awake, when you are ready to focus, when your brain isn't so scattered, you can come in and really just bullet point what you've already documented. So think through that, guys. I haven't seen you want to join yet. Is it because you're working? Is it because you don't want to? Is it because I'm not looking at LinkedIn? All of the above may be true. So If you want to join the stage, talk about your documentation, just give me a message and I'll send you the link. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep going. Now, I do want to look at some of these comments because I don't want to not. But hello to the people who are joining us. Adrienne, I see you down there. And happy Saturday. Gregory says, the erasing of minds is like that scene from the movie Men in Black. And it's true, guys. If we're running on the premise, and this is the premise of the show today, if you sleep at night and everything you did not write down, if you did not write it down, it just disappears the next day. What would you lose out on? What happens? And it really is almost scary, kind of like roop. And sometimes I wish I had that little bloop thing, the little light that they shine in your eyes to make you forget it all. But even if you want to forget it, guys, writing it down really helps you release it. It's funny because it happens with your grocery shopping list. Your grocery shopping list is one of those things that once you write it down, your brain releases it. And so even the negative stuff, even though you may not want to keep it forever, once you write it down, you can destroy the documentation if it's out, right? Once you've released it from your brain and your brain's like, oh, thank goodness, we don't have to hold on to that info anymore. It's somewhere. Then you don't have to carry it as much. And it doesn't always work immediately, right? And I'm not a medical professional. I'm just a mindset coach, but I know that this helps take the edge off some of those things. And if this isn't effective enough, then we talk about the next steps and maybe seeking additional help, right? But even the bad, write it down, because if you track it, you can adjust for it. You can fix it. You can improve what's creating this problem. All right. Let's see. Annette says, I learned the hard way on that one. A little coming out over a period of time adds up. And I'm not sure exactly where I was in the conversation, but it does. Everything has a ripple, and a little chip every day at something is going to happen. You got to determine where you're hitting and why. Nick says, I love that thought. We want to pass on a piece of ourselves. I think that's the book. And that's also in the books, guys. You got to go check it out. Aaron Gibson, he's on fire with his heart. Yes. And then, of course, Nick, thank you for sharing. But listen, truthfully, we are here to capture, right? I love the photos too. It definitely speaks. And when you can find what you need to express, really just get it to the point where you can put it down on pen, paper, in a text, in a note. You can write to yourself on Facebook. I don't care where you put it. You could talk to yourself in the car, but you still got to write it down to not forget what you talked about. Record it. Talk to yourself into a video and then watch the video back on this day next year. Many ways to do this, right? This is a tough one, letting go of some of the tasks you feel you need to. It's a must, however, to scale. That's true. Nick says, I do feel good, though, about hiring a VA, editor, and formatter. I'm providing jobs. And my awesome video visioneer, Aaron Gibson, would choose to be more than our diagnosis is video, plus the sponsorship. It is wonderful. Now, on the other side of that, my biggest fear is as you scale, do you have the documentation everybody else needs? There are states, counties, cities who have rules for that kind of stuff, right? And so making sure that if you get audited by the IRS, the city, whoever, you have the documentation you need, a contract, what that meant. How do I know what you paid them? How do I know this money was this and this wasn't just a buying you in a coffee or whatever? You have to have the proof, right? And so tracking your expenses, tracking how you pay. QuickBooks, guys, that was one that a lot of businesses use to track their expenses and their payroll and their stuff. There are resources. If you don't know how to use them, you can hire somebody to do it. The people who you call at these organizations will train you to use their product. It's part of the buy-in, right? It's silly not to teach you how to do it. They'll give you something, even if they've just documented the training materials, to email to you. There is a process. Think about the best businesses you know and how they communicate with you, how they document your relationship with you. How do they show you gratitude? How do they tell you when it's not so good? How do they say, hey, your card expired, pay us now, right? I want to talk about all of those things, but privately, you guys sit down with yourself, go over the finances, go over the career, go over what's happening in your personal life, what feels good, what doesn't, what's benefiting you, what isn't. Because I'll be honest, I love chocolate cake, right? I do. If you don't love chocolate cake, it's cool. I know some people out there don't even eat cake, and we won't talk about them today, but, To each their own. I like cake, chocolate cake. It's not good for me all the time. It's not something I can eat every day. It's something I want. It's something that makes me feel good. However, if I document it into my meal plan and I document calories and I document my goals and I try to make them overlap, it doesn't always work. So just because I like it doesn't mean it's good for me. And so that really helps to bring clarity too. Just because it feels good doesn't mean it's good. Just because you want it doesn't mean you should have it. And also, do you have a process? If you want it, if I want chocolate cake, there's a tip I use. I eat it in the morning. Seems silly. I know it seems silly, but let me explain why. I have tracked how I feel after eating chocolate cake. It's something that I have noticed my whole life, and it started as a little girl when I went to Sizzler with my great grandmother. She used to take me out every Friday night if I had a good week at school and I was good, and we would go eat. And I would go eat with her sister-in-law and her sister-in-law's mother. They were like 80 and 100 years old, respectively, and that's not an exaggeration. My grandma was just a few years younger than the 80-year-old. And they were close and they hung out, and I got to be that little 5-year-old at the table. Where was I going? Okay, chocolate cake. So I would go eat, and it didn't matter what I ate before dessert. It didn't matter. I could fill my little tummy. I could eat like 8 little bowls of clam chowder and a bunch of kiwi fruit. I remember this day vividly. I was so full, bursting, but I had chocolate cake. And after I finished my cake, my body wanted not cake. It wanted to return back to savory. And I remember this so vividly because it was like, that's weird. I'm not hungry, but I definitely need to eat something that's not sweet right now. It got to the point where as a child, I had assessed this so often going out with grandma that I asked her if I could eat my dessert first because I didn't like the feeling. I was a little girl and I knew I didn't like the feeling of how it left me. And she and I came to an agreement that as long as I finished my dinner, she wouldn't care. Guys, I just switched the way I ate it. Now, as a grown-up, knowing that my body will eat sweet, but then immediately crave protein or something more savory, I plan for that. Before lunch, I eat my candy if I have candy. If I want something sweet, I eat it for breakfast, and then I have a very high protein lunch, right? I'm tracking how I feel. I'm assessing what it means, and then I'm trying to improve what I don't like. Pretty simple stuff. And I was a little girl the first time I remember assessing my diet because it didn't make me feel so hot, or I wanted to do it a little bit different. And so think through that, guys. The emotional stuff, like Jackie, we're going to talk about some of that too, like just assessing where we are and why it matters. Guys, I'm so excited about Arizona. I've been thinking about this. I've been planning for the trip. I have been writing down the stuff that I should probably put into my bag, right? And truth be told, I'm just taking a carry-on the way. And on the way back, I'm checking a bag because I expect I'm going to be shopping. But I was thinking about how I'm going to feel in 100 and something degree weather today to give you a contrast of where I am today and what it's going to look like when I get there. So as of right now, it is 56 degrees in the Pacific Northwest. The high today is going to be 68. The high in Arizona, let's just Google this real quick. When I show up is going to be probably comparable to today, but it is 90 currently. It is 30 degrees hotter than it's going to be at my highest point in this state. And that's right now. That doesn't count later today. They're looking at going up to like 105 and 110 by Monday. Guys, that makes me a little emotional, but also in the best way, because that means this lady and I are going to be in the water. We're going to play. We're going to plan. We're going to plot. We're probably not going to be out between 12 and 4 unless we're in ice cold air conditioning somewhere, right? Because it's the hottest part of the day. Now, that doesn't mean we won't. But if I know I'm not going to be as happy to do it between noon and 4, maybe we do a mid-morning or like a morning thing. And then maybe we take a little break for some personal time. I'm going to probably take a nap at the hottest part of the day. or whatever. And then we come back and do the work, right? These are things before it gets to be the ugly faces and emotional responses. We plot to not let it happen because we know sticky, ugly, nasty heat might not be our best friend or whatever, right? And so think about it, guys. Whatever you're planning, if you bank on the worst case scenario, if you plan for the best case scenario, if you kind of meet yourself in the middle, you're really writing your story. You're really able to say, this is what I'm doing. If I get too hot, if I know I'm not comfortable, if I'm not wanting to be in the heat, what are my plans? If you go to work with the lady next door and you're not happy to sit next to them, if you know that it's the worst thing ever, if you know you have to fire somebody as an employer, you're going to write your story. You're going to document something, and you will be documented forever. That's something you got to remember if you're in management, right? You are part of somebody's forever story when you fire them. They're going to remember how, why, when. You're going to be the villain probably, unless they're taking accountability for the actions that got them there. And so if you already know that by letting them go, maybe try to soften that story a bit, right? Maybe I keep thinking about Moana as the villain story. You guys know how, I don't want to ruin it. Have you seen Moana? Right? I'm going to vamp just a second because if you haven't seen Moana, I'm about to ruin it for you. Cover your ears. I'm giving you enough time. You should have already assessed this by now if you've seen it. But if you watch, you know that there is this island and it has this fiery beast who's just angry. And you're like, oh, danger. And they have to go and they have to face this fiery beast. And then when they actually get there and assess it and they really figure out what's going on, they realize, and again, cover your ears, it's not a fiery beast. She's chill. She's just mad. They took her stuff. She wants it back. And as soon as she gets back what's hers, she's not angry anymore. She's calm. She's beautiful. She's glowy. She's green and vibrant. And it's all plush and lovely. How are you feeling right now? Are you fiery? Are you angry? Are you feeling like somebody took something? Are you feeling like you are lacking something, even if they didn't take it? What is it that you're missing that's making you so fiery? Because I had this conversation recently, and always fun and passion get shit done, right? Sorry, my language, but it is. It's what gets it done. Every kid ever can stay up 24 hours or longer because they're passionate or having fun. They're playing their games. They're hanging out with friends. They're doing whatever. Adults don't have that. And a lot of the time it's because I see they don't have fun and passion, because when you see somebody who's in their fun and passion in adulthood, they are also staying up late. They're also hanging out with their friends. They're also doing what makes them good until their body drops. That fire and passion is either going to motivate you to get it done or it's going to not burn. And if it's not firing you up to get moving, assess why. What's in the way of your flames shining brightly, right? Be this little light of mine. It doesn't have to be negative flames, but what's keeping your glow from really going? Or why do you feel like you're burning up, and how do you put the fire out and get it back to contained onto that one little candle in front of you, that hopeful candle, that thing that glows in front of you and lights the way? Document it. It's not just the good stuff. It's not just the wins. It's the losses too. It's, hey, I lost this client. Why did we lose the contract? Why didn't we get the RFP closed? Why is it that, we're losing momentum in sales or whatever? You can figure it out. And truth be told, guys, if you're in business, if you've been there a while, you have survived some crazy crap the past couple of years, right? We went through a pandemic. Cities faced mass closures of restaurants and service positions, those support businesses, they just dwindled. And now we're looking at more funding going for a lot of people and industries. And I don't want to get into whether I agree or not. We all already know that. But if that's something you're facing, how do we fix it, right? We can't ignore it. It's really going to happen. But how do we turn that fire, that burning, that anger, that passion into movement, into action. This is something for you to decide, guys. I can give you tips. I can tell you what I would recommend based on who you are, right? But it comes back down to, first, how do you document? What is your documentation? What does it consist of in your world? On top of it, knowing what documentation means, and it can mean a lot of things, right? It could be a sticky note, it could be a screenshot, it could be anything, guys. We have it defined here. You can take it in if it's in this format, and you can give it out in this format. Conversations can be documented between people, but if it's not recorded, you're hoping that other person is your notepad. And I used to joke that my assistant manager, Sam, was my notepad. She was my second brain. I would use her to help me with the documentation of things. But that's not really fair to her either, because then when she has to explain it, now she not only is the notepad, but she's the delivery system. And that's not her job, because we can't replicate her either to that degree. If she disappeared tomorrow, who knows what? And she did, right? I give this example because I had my assistant manager promoted out of the store. And now she's in a new store, and she's doing the processes she's learned, and she's documenting things. And there's stuff happening all over the place. Having conversations with that store manager, same thing, documenting new processes, them coming together, getting it on paper so everybody knows what to expect from each other. Huge facets. It's helpful in any business, and anybody who's consulted a business, anybody who's run a business should know this, right? And I see a friend of mine in the back room. Guys, if you want to join the stage, you can totally ask for the link. We're going to talk about documentation, how we're doing it. But this guy knows a little bit about it. I mean, it's part of his brand too. Welcome to the stage, buddy. How are you doing? Are you there?
Sorry, my AirPods changed to my phone from my iPad. Yeah, I'm here. How are you?
Oh man, it's been a week. I was telling everybody it's been kind of a week. We got a lot of news, but I'm okay. The world around me is shifting. My mother-in-law was diagnosed with dementia. Work's evolving because Sam has moved on to the new store, which is great. I'm happy for her. But then I have the trip coming with Jackie. And so it's like all of these things all at once. However, I'm managing because I have my processes. And that's what really made me want to do the show today, is when the world gets chaotic, you can go back to the basics, right? Go back to the who, what, where, when, whys, and the documentation and what you know, and write it down and get some clarity. So it's kind of where I'm at. But what's coming up for you? Because I know you've been kind of multitasking. We could tell them what you've been up to. But what did you want to add today? What was coming up for you?
Well, you were talking about a few things, and yeah, multitasking is an understatement. But you start off talking about just having some kind of way to document and to structure how you do it. And one of the things that I know I shared with you is whatever works for you, whether it's paper, whether it's something on the computer, on your phone. I like the Notes app. The Notes app on my phone I use, and I have folders. I mean, let me see how many notes I have right now. Right now I have 3,173 folders. Now, keep in mind, I'm sorry, notes, not folders.
3,173 notes.
And then I have
That's what you said.
And then I have 46 folders. Now, I have a folder for careers, chaos, and coaching. I have a folder for workplace wellness. I have a folder for LinkedIn Lives. I have a folder for LinkedIn Top Voice. But then I have a folder for my Max and Miranda book. I have a folder for my daughter's engagement party that we're planning, and I share that file with my daughter, my wife, and my future son-in-law. So anything I do, I create a folder there because that's my go-to spot where I document everything. And then when I have an idea that I don't have time to work on, I have my future ideas notes where I just throw it down in there. And then when I'm like, what do I want to write about or what do I want to post about, I go to there. And those inspiring ideas that I didn't have moment because I was driving maybe and I couldn't, go through and document what I wanted to think about. Because a lot of times, I know most of this happens to you. People are like, oh, well, I can't come up with stuff to create. It's like, it's not really that we come up with stuff, it's that we get inspired. We see something, it sparks an idea, and our brain just starts going. And if we can grab something to write down our thoughts, boom, we have the start of it. But when that idea floats out of our mind and we get distracted by that shiny penny or that squirrel, we may never get that idea back if we didn't document it. So I just want to reiterate the importance of what you always say of document and then act, because that second part, you all, if we just sit, there's thinkers and there's doers. Now, there's also influencers and connectors. Those are the 4 main communication styles. Nobody is just one thing. We all have all 4 of them in us. So we all have the thinker part to come up with the idea, and we all have the doer part. But when we lean into just always thinking of ideas and never doing it, you're going to have a pile of great ideas and no results. So I just want to encourage people to really stress the act part in your document and act, Melissa, because if you don't take action, you're going to be sitting still, and and everyone's going to pass you by.
Right?
Now,
but I have to ask a question really quick. Felipe, when did you start using notes? Was it like at the inception of notes? Because that's a number. Like even Nick is over here going, whoa.
I started using it when I started creating content on a consistent basis on LinkedIn, because what was happening was, and I remember it so vividly, it pissed me off so badly. It was a moment in time that it happened a lot on LinkedIn where you would write a post, and after you wrote it all out and you would hit post, it would freeze up, close out on you, and it wouldn't save the post. And I'm like, damn it, I have to rewrite it. And that happened like 50 times. And I'm like, that's it. I'm giving up on relying on LinkedIn. I'm going to write it down somewhere. So I started writing it down on the notepad. And from there on, everything I wrote on the notepad, I rechecked it, and then I put it and posted it. Now with ChatGPT, same thing. I'll write it in my notepad. If I don't like the way something sounds, I'll copy that one section, throw it to ChatGPT and say, rephrase this to make it sound a little more enthusiastic, or maybe a little more serious, or whatever, and help polish it up, that one phrase that I don't like. But I write out the way I talk, and then I'll take parts out, and then I always have the original. So if LinkedIn closed today, I still have all my original posts in my notes pad.
You guys, did you hear what he said? If LinkedIn disappeared today, can we talk about that too? It is always nice to have 2 forms of documentation. What I love about a lot of tech these days is my OneDrive, right? My On This Day, Facebook, the same thing. Shout out to them. But the reflection that's built into those programs is huge for me. That is where a lot of my stuff is backed up, because I started doing a thing where I just would screenshot the post so I wouldn't forget the post, or if I wanted to reuse it in the future or revisit the concept, I had somewhere to go. And so it's my own version of notes. I don't have to like copy paste, because that's frustrating sometimes for me because my finger, it doesn't work right. But you have a way to search, right? And that's something that's foundationally important. And that's something that I don't know if you guys all know either. If you go into your gallery right now, you can do this, not just in your notes app, but in your pictures now. And it wasn't always the coolest thing to do, but now it's become so smart that you can go in and say food into your gallery and just type search and put food, and every food picture you've ever taken comes back. If there's recipes, it may bring that back too, because it's reading the screen and it's scraping for that data for you. You could do the same with LinkedIn, and anywhere LinkedIn is stated, or if it sees the logo, it's going to bring those results back. And so for Melissa's screenshots on LinkedIn, it's very easy to find. If I look for document, then act, every piece of imagery that has anything that says that on it will come back. It's really helpful if you're a marketer, guys. I want to repurpose some of your content. But Felipe, those are some of the backups I have. Where else would you store it? Like if it's not, do you have your Apple Drive too? What is it called over there? What do you guys call it on this?
No, I mean we have our cloud storage. So the iCloud stores everything up there. And honestly, that's why I love YouTube. YouTube is also a backup for all our shows, Melissa, that we save them. They're on LinkedIn, but they're also saved on YouTube. So if one of the two platforms go, we still have a place where all this is recorded. But I also want to stress the importance of this. This is not just someone being overly organized or anal retentive. This is one of the biggest stress reducers you could do for yourself. Okay, whether you have ADHD, you're the shiny penny chaser, you get distracted by squirrels, or you're overwhelmed. Think about this. Right now, today, I'll share some of this with Melissa. In the past week, I have had a crisis at work that I had to put out fires. We had a tree fall down in front of our house, cross the street, block the road, hit a transformer, then hit a car, then start a fire. 3 fire trucks had to come, Pepco had to come, power went out during the heat outage. Our upstairs heat unit started having problems. Then we had a flood in our basement from a pipe that just started leaking for no reason at all. And then all this while my wife went away to spend time with her mother for 2 weeks, and my sister moved in temporarily because she had a problem with her housing. And I'm trying to plan my engagement party for my beautiful daughter and future son-in-law. Okay, I'll stop there. That alone right there, normally I would have broken down and had a meltdown probably at some point. But I gotta tell you, the fact that I've written shit down, excuse my language, but that's what's kept me sane. I have notes to follow up with the AC person. I already took care of the water issue, and I bought little detectors, detect water, and I have that. I have my checklist of what I need to get done. I have my stuff organized for my daughter. And what I do is, hey, I got 10 minutes. I'm going to do some hedge trimming real quick outside to make the back corner look better for the engagement party. Oh, I got 10 minutes. I'm going to call the AC guy. And I check it off my list. That is such a huge stress reliever for me because it takes it out of my mind and I don't have to worry about forgetting about it. I just have to remember to check the notes. I'll stop there.
Sorry, I got excited. Don't stop too long though, because guys, what I love about what he said was the 10-minute thing, and I don't want it to go without pausing for a second. In 10 minutes, he can get tons accomplished. He just gave you a bullet point list of things he would do with 10 minutes, right? But if you don't have a list written, it might take you 10 minutes to create the list when you have 10 minutes. And so then you have to wait till the next 10 minutes and then the next 10 minutes. And then it really can be ever evolving. So if you just take 2 seconds, it's 2 seconds if you have your pen and paper, if you always have your notepad right on your home screen, you can be in a meeting and have them quote somebody you really was like, wow, that's a profound quote. And you just put quote by whoever, right? And maybe put a couple words so you can keyword search it later and have it come back. It doesn't have to be a 10-page documentation. It could be get milk. That's it. As soon as you read it, you're going to go, oh, my wife texted me about get milk. And also it will trigger that you should probably reread that text because there was another to-do list item. But milk triggered me back, enough documentation to take me back to that thing I need to do. Felipe, I love that. I love that so much. How long does it take you to put your notes in typically? Like, what is your average time you spend in a quick documentation session so you don't forget something?
Oh, I mean, like a minute, maybe. Now, that minute could turn into 20 because if I do have the time, I'm like, oh, let me just write this idea real quick. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, wait, let me add this. Let me add this. Well, okay, you know what? I'm already halfway done. Let me go ahead and just write a post out real quick. So sometimes just starting gets you going and you end up accomplishing something that you didn't plan to. You're like, oh, sweet, I have it done. Like I've actually gone back to my notes saying, oh crap, I want to do this post today. And I go back and look, oh crap, I already wrote it out. That's pretty cool. All right. I just saved myself some time. So it's that 1 minute expectation, but if you get the time, let yourself go with the flow.
The other thing I would add is if you're somebody who can get lost in the moment, because some of us are, spicy. We got some neurodiversity going and ADHD and whatever else. And so if you can actually, if you start to flow into it and then you lose yourself and all of a sudden you look over and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm late for my next meeting because I got into the flow. If you know you're that person that has that potential, set a 10-minute time frame alarm saying, hey, sit down at 7 a.m., sit down and make sure you're doing your 10 minutes. And then at 7:10, have an alarm that says, are you ready to stop? 7:20, are you ready to stop? If you need to, do 10-minute increments, 5-minute, whatever your choice is. But if you know you can get lost in it, have an alarm to stop. You do with your baking, with a cupcake, right? When you start baking the cake, you're like, I got an hour, let's bake a cake. Well, then you still have to set the done timer for the oven. So it's the same concept. Felipe, do you ever feel like you get lost in it, or do you have alarms to bring you back or some kind of way to anchor yourself back in so you don't dive in too far on one thing when you shouldn't?
So my phone, when I have appointments, whether it's with family, with at work, even though I have it on my calendar at work, I will set my alarm watch on my watch, and I'll set alarm for 3 p.m., set alarm for 4 p.m., or like 2:55, 3:55, 4:55, 5 minutes before my appointment, so that I don't have to worry about it. And that way, if I am distracted by doing something like on LinkedIn or writing something, it reminds me, hey, you got an appointment in 5 minutes, because I can get lost. I know I can get lost in my flow state and just keep on going and look up and realize, oh crap, an hour went by and I didn't realize it. So I am somebody who I don't like to be late to things. And so I want to make sure that I set my alarm to remind me just in case.
And guys, I love that. But I will also add, if you haven't looked at my post recently, I did 3 goals in 3 minutes. And some of you are going to be like, no, that's not possible. Well, yeah, it is, because we just talked about how quick you can document. Felipe said it's a minute on average. Did you hear how many notes he has? Even if he's just jotting down that I have to fix the hedge, if I have to call the plumber, I have to do this, he's taking a step towards the goal. It's just it. It's part of the process to get it done. And so even if it's 1 minute, even if it's 3 times a day, you're going to go into the restroom. Nobody's going to question you if you take an extra 60 seconds. Truthfully, if you don't take the 60 seconds when your brain's functioning and you have quiet time and alone and that thought pops, you might lose it forever. But nobody's going to go, oh my gosh, Felipe, you were in there for 4 minutes, not 3. It would be embarrassing to even talk about if you were in the bathroom. So if you just do it in the bathroom, take your phone with you, sit there and just jot it down there for 1 minute. Just go, what do I need to focus on? It could be work. It could be whatever. It might be you still working on your desk from the bathroom. You don't even think about it that way, but 3 goals, 3 minutes. Go check that out. Also, Felipe, I got to thank you for coming. I missed our show, but I'm glad we're on a break. My birthday, September 10th. Are we going to be back before my birthday?
Oh, yeah, we are. Oh, we are
Okay.
going to be back before September 10th. And I love that you brought up the phone in the bathroom, because most people are not going to admit that. But the reality is everyone takes their damn phone in the bathroom. Let's be real. So
I go in the bathroom with my phone. I don't want to sit there bored.
Exactly. I mean, it's the new newspaper, basically. Well, people used to take it in the bathroom with them. So, and I just wanted to show Gregory, I looked at my messages. I didn't see a message that was specific about summer vacation. So if you don't mind, resend it to me, because I didn't see it there. So I just wanted to point that out. But great show, Melissa, as always. And I look forward to seeing you next Saturday.
Thank you. I'm excited. I'm not really sure what the topic is next week, guys. If you have something you want to hear about, you can suggest it. I have been really just holding out. That's what took me so long this week, is I wanted to make sure that I'm moving in what I hear people needing. And when I'm looking around, I see a lot of great things happening. A lot of my clients are growing their businesses. A lot of those people who I'm connected to are talking about these big things they're accomplishing. And I was like, man, that's documentation. I'm a big fan of that. We should maybe talk about it too, because I'm about to grow some things. I have a ton on the horizon. I'm going to bring it out to you soon, guys. I'm in the build phase, and you want to kind of keep it quiet when you're in the build phase and your note phase until you're ready to share your documentation with the world. But it's coming. The things I will tell you about, and my alarm went off. I have to hurry if we're going to play the song outro and still stay under 2 hours. But the Emotional Women, obviously, we're coming to Arizona. We are coming. We're going to be there the 3rd through the 7th. And so if you have a business, if you want to talk emotions, emotional intelligence, communication, if you want to talk LinkedIn, if you want to talk about writing, if you want to have us come read our chapters to your group, we can, right? There's no limit here. We want to help. We want to make an impact. We're going to be in town. Why waste the time? Hey, are you a connection of ours that hangs out in Arizona? We might have to do a pop-up dinner where all of our people from LinkedIn can do like a LinkedIn meet and greet. Who knows? We'll have to see, right? We'll have to see how this goes. But remember, it's coming. Put it in your calendar. Document the time. August, right? And if you have people in Arizona that might benefit from us or you want to introduce us to, please do, because we want to meet some people while we're out there. And it's not just going to be my friends. I want to meet new friends. Okay. So guys, beyond that, I am still running an offer for your social selling package. If you have not done this yet, hey, wait, hold on. Jackie's behind me. Let me change this real quick. Hold on. Hi, Jackie. I don't want to pitch both at the same time. That's different. So let's go. Boom. Okay. No, I don't like that either. Let's do boom. Okay. So social selling package, guys. We'll do the profile review and optimization, branding kit creation. That means your fonts, your colors, your imagery, some structure so it's consistent and you can tell as soon as you see it who it is. And then we'll do a one-on-one coaching and planning session. So I'm going to sit down, figure out what your goals are. We're going to document them. We're going to create a plan. We're going to document the plan. You're going to follow the plan. You're going to assess it. And we're going to keep checking. And we will do a follow-up just to see the outcomes, right? We're going to do an assessment of outcomes. That's part of it. It's not going to be part of the 1 hour, but after 30 days, we're coming back. We're going to talk about the results. We're going to, make some tweaks if we need to. I'll make some suggestions. Then you're going to go out and do it again. Whether you want to do another hour and rebrand for a new offer or a new whatever, we can do that. But truthfully, we can do strategies beyond branding. It is something that's ever evolving. It's one of those floors shift beneath us because technology shifts too, right? They do improvements. They change algorithms. They change what works. Video becomes more important than some of the static imagery. And so just reach out, right? I know all of this stuff. I help people with this stuff. The other thing I would say is don't forget to write it out this week, guys, whether it's your to-do list, whether it's your schedule, whether it's your dreams. If you're not taking action on them, you are in somebody else's action plan. Full stop. Either you're writing the story or you're letting the person next to you write your story. It's up to you, right? You have to figure this out. Now, there are lots of ways you can document it. One I like is a planner. I have my journals. I have my planners. Go check them out online. The other thing is go read the books. I put a lot of love into my chapter. I put a lot of time and energy into letting you guys know who I am and why it matters and why I believe the way I do to offer hope and reach back and pull forward and share for free something I charge $250 an hour to do. I'm here giving you $500 worth of free talk time every week, mostly, right? I do take some time off, but most of the time you can come here and give free $500 worth of coaching. You have to ask the questions for it to be that kind of value takeaway, but it's here and it's ready. And if you don't want to do it publicly, you can message me. You can go to documentthenetwork.com and we can get a call scheduled. If you need payment plans, guys, I do it. I do. It's something that I want to meet humans where they are. We will meet in the middle. We'll figure it out. But I know it takes money to make money. So if you're in business and you're not investing in your business yet, you should do that. Even if it's a time investment, make sure you're spending the time to do the things you need to do. Document what you're trying to do. What would be the steps to get there? If you've never been in a show of mine before, I'm going to give you a quick story to wrap, and then we'll go into my song, my coffee chats promo. Anyway, think about the NFL player, right? There's a lot of high schoolers who are sitting in sports in school, and they want to be the NFL player. And there are people out there who would tell them that's not possible. It's not a thing. Right? Don't dream that big. Not everybody can do that. That's not a helpful goal. It's not a good degree, whatever that filler message is, right? But specifically for that NFL player, I don't tell high schoolers not to be an NFL player. I tell them, great, let's reverse engineer how you get there. Where does the NFL recruit from? They recruit from college. Wonderful. Where does college recruit from? What are the things the college is looking for? Okay, high school and good grades. Great. What does the high school team require? And we start breaking down what the requirements are, just like a job description and the requirements to enter a business there, right? If you know what people look for, you can show up with that thing. It's market research. And if you can teach somebody how to research the market, the trend, the idea, the industry, the concept, whatever it is that they want to have, if they can create that value in their life where they can write it down and then act on gaining more knowledge on that thing they wrote down, that dream, that to-do list, they can succeed. Because the people who got in the NFL had those things. That was what made them successful. And so if you can look at what made them successful and emulate the behaviors, right? What I liked about Elmo is he colored with crayons. He loves his goldfish, right? And he does singing and dancing, and he always wants to be helpful. I loved Elmo for that. And so when I said, hey, I want to be like Elmo, those are the things I snagged from him. When I say I want to be like Mr. Rogers, I mean, I don't mean gray hair. I'm kidding it. But I do mean the cardigan game. I do like that he's got those cute little kicks that match every cardigan. I do like his matching game. I like he also has fish. That Venn diagrams with Elmo, that's kind of cute. He also went and talked about dreams and imagination. And he had like King Friday and all these things. And those were a part of him that were dreamy and not real, if you've ever paid attention to what was really happening. I want to be like him. I want to play in that. I want to be like Betty White. I want her success. I want to work within all the industries I want to. Betty was in every industry she ever wanted to be. I want to be able to play with the puppies. I want to be able to raise money for charities just because I showed up and met people, right? I want to be a face for you to get some momentum in your business if that's what it needs. I also want to be able to do it my way. Betty White got in some hot water because of the way she ran her show in spite of segregation and discrimination and things that were happening around her in that time. I want to be that lady. I do. And you know what? We still asked for more of her when she was gone. It wasn't enough at 100 years. That's the legacy I want to have. Elmo, he'll never be enough for the kids who love Elmo, right? Mr. Rogers, there's never enough. Bob Ross, never enough. I don't understand how those never enough people have become something that we aren't investing in. And so how do we fix it? I go back to the documentation. How do I keep this feeling, the sensation, these motivations, the pillars of my brand and who I've become available for those behind me? How do I reach back and pull them forward into that mindset that PBS instilled in me and some of my friends? You may not like this. You may be anti-PBS. And I'll be honest, if you're at this point of the show and you don't align with the belief systems, that's cool. But there's a few options. You're welcome to leave now. You're welcome to unfollow. You can even block me. But I would ask you to reflect instead on why Elmo's upsetting. I mean, I saw there was some social media stuff that happened and it sounds like he was hacked, and that sucks because, you know, that's not fair and none of us want that. But truth be told, beyond that bad publicity that I just saw this week where he was framed, basically, he's a puppet, mind you. His ripple's been vast and wide. So have a lot of those good people on those good shows. Even Antiques Roadshow showing me value in things that I would look at and go, that looks like a piece of junk. And then all of a sudden it's priceless. What's a piece of junk? What's priceless? Do you have perspective? Are you documenting it? Are you telling the people who are priceless in your life they are priceless? Do you text them? Do you tell them I love you at the end of the night? Do you make sure they know in a voice note? Call them, leave the voicemail. Don't hang up when there's voicemail. Just leave it anyway and say, hey, I just wanted you to know I was thinking of you. Because some of my favorite memories now are the ones my mom left in my voicemail. Some of my favorite written works are in a diary of somebody who has passed away, who I loved and was going to marry. Some of the most inspiring works I've ever read are of a little girl who wrote in a diary during one of the worst wars the world has ever seen. Impact, the ripple, and the why. And if I come back to what matters, they're all really reflective and kind and mindful and trying to share their story and their perspective to help others be better. Guys, that's who I want to be when I grow up. And that's everything I think I described. But the only way I can do that is if I assess my behavior, document what doesn't feel good, make sure I watch when I turn into that flame lady versus the floral little happy, smiley island lady at the end of Moana. Figure it out for you. I live transparently in front of you, so you might learn from my mistakes. You might take some of my notes and use them for yourself. But really, I just hope that we get to stay open-minded and have the conversations and be willing to hear somebody else's perspective, because we don't always have to agree, right? You see in the shows, Felipe and I don't always agree. We did today. And that's important because we don't have to align on everything. But that centerpiece, that middle, that part that we all have to agree on, it should be beautiful. It shouldn't be murky. It shouldn't be ugly. It shouldn't get muddy. It should be a safe, soft, comfortable place for all of us where we're together and stronger. And then those things that we deal with on our own, we can find others who overlap with that and not force others to agree with it, right? I think faith and passions and all of the things that are out here, politics, even your favorite art medium, right? Some sculpt, some paint. There's no wrong answer. Your artist, overlap on the art. Take the segmented pieces home with you separately and worry about them yourself. I think if we really take that mindset forward this week and we document what matters to us and allow people to work on what matters to them, but we try to meet in the middle to be kind and make it easy for everybody to do their assignment in the courtyard together, that's the best place to be. And that's what PBS taught me, guys. That's where we're at. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for coming. If you have show ideas, let me know. Message me. Until next week, though, go get it done. Document and act. Take care.
Sunlight creeps through my window pane. Dreams of stars, now a faint refrain. Coffee brews and thoughts collide in this early morning ride. Wake up world, let's start the day. Insight flows in a bright array. Questions dance like morning dew. In this space, it's me and you. Coffee chats with Melissa.